morning, everyone. Call to order for the Development, Environment and Engineering Committee on the 5th of December 2023 at 10:07. We'll read the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we would like to acknowledge on behalf of Council and our community that we are meeting on the traditional territory of the Algonquin people. We would like to thank the Algonquin people and express our respect and support for their rich history, and we are extremely grateful for their many and continued displays of friendship. We also thank all generations of people who have taken care of this land for thousands of years. And roll call with Clerk Bart.
Chair McDonald.
Here.
Lee
Present.
Councillor McWhorter.
Here.
Chair McDonald, we have quorum.
Thank you. Any declaration of pecuniary interests? None noted. A reminder for those who are watching from home as we move into the presentation portion of our committee meeting. The materials being presented today can be found on the Town of Renfrew website at renfrew.ca under the municipal calendar's appropriate meeting date. And we'll move now to C1, and it's the monthly update with Director Eric Withers.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you. Be glad to provide the committee with our monthly update, and should be on the screens. That's great. So we'll start off. Actually, I hand it over to our Manager of Environmental Services, and she can provide her update on environment and landfill operations. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're going to start today at the landfill, and not much going on there, but we are preparing for winter. So we did get our snow tires on the loader installed. We did purchase a new snowblower, and it should be arriving in about 2 weeks. Public Works has delivered our salt bins for safety reasons, and we have now set our holiday hours, and we have our public notices scheduled, so you can see that there. On to garbage and recycling. We do have the joint tender for solid waste collection with Arnprior and McNabb Braeside that has been closed. It is being evaluated, and it is going. The report for that is going to go directly to Council next week for your award. And we've also been working with the Product Care Association for an agreement for the collection of lights, which we'll discuss further in a report today. On to water and wastewater. We did have a inspection by the MECP of our drinking water distribution system. It went well, but they have not issued the reports yet. Usually we will see that in a couple months, so maybe in the new year. We also had our drinking water quality management system audit in November, and it went well. The report is coming to committee today. We have notified the MECP of the change in the operating authority for the water distribution system, and we are working with Aqua to transfer the documentation and licenses. And on to other. We have made some progress on the provincial park proposal. Mayor Sidney has been in discussion with the province and other not-for-profit conservation organizations regarding potential partnerships, and we have a meeting later today regarding that. And staff have been using our drone to do a flyover the site to better understand the topographical changes, as well as just understanding the site and the challenges and possibly future options of what we can do with the area. And we've got some great video and photographs from that. And that's all I have.
That's great. Thank you, Manager. Just in terms of the building permit summary, so it looks like we're going to close out the year just under $30 million in construction value, which historically is a very good total for the year. Obviously not the $40 million that we saw when money was essentially free, but still a very good year. In terms of planning services update, we do have a number of purpose-built rental projects that are being inquired about or moving forward through either the pre-consultation if any planning approvals are required, or we try to get them right to the building permit stage if at all possible. We try to be somewhat flexible in kind of our interpretation of the Planning Act and bylaws so that we can try to get people to the building permit stage, just appreciating that housing is a very important topic right now, and there is a need for housing. We're seeing a lot of programs that are driving purpose-built rental projects. Things like CMHC They have a number of financing incentives designed to kind of get projects off the ground. So that's great. You're seeing a lot of kind of incentives and initiatives from a number of levels of government, all levels of government, trying to get these projects moving forward. Obviously, the cost of financing, just market financing, is still very expensive. So that's, if you're not taking advantage of those programs, it's tending to weigh on their pro formas. All of our subdivisions are kind of moving along at different stages. We're working with the Pinnacle View subdivision and the draft conditions, with the engineering division and the county. Hunter Gate, there's not really a status change in Phase 5. Phase 4, they did complete some underground work in terms of repairing deficiencies. They replaced the base asphalt lift. The idea is that final lift would likely be in the spring, and this will give an opportunity for the base course to settle, which is probably a pretty good idea. 130 Arthur Avenue, that was through for a variance. We understand the site plan approval application is nearing submission. That's a purpose-built rental project. Mayhew subdivision, we got no further updates on that, but we understand it was worked on recently by the developer. St. Joe's and St. Thomas is moving along. We do have some new commercial development in the O'Brien Road area. It's not a project that council has seen or is aware of to this point, and the details would be confidential, but just it's an exciting thing, and you typically will see that once you have kind of a residential boom in a community, the commercial follows, because financing is directly tied to the kind of the level of growth that that institutions see in a community, and they won't give you dollars unless they see residential growth, because of course you need people living somewhere in order to buy things. So you are seeing that commercial follow, which is great to see. Capital projects, so we have the OP review, attainable housing, the secondary plans, again, underway, all of them, again, moving forward at kind of different paces. The OP review, we have the issues and options report, and we kind of mentioned to committee that as a result of provincial reviews on the PPS and other matters, that we're kind of slow playing that one a little bit. We'll have the issues and options report this year, and then hopefully Q1, Q2, we'll have some clarity on the provincial policy statement review, and we can kind of work towards a draft on that. Attainable housing, we don't have anything positive or negative from CMHC on that. Again, I think we were asked for some additional information. I think that's a good indicator. The secondary plans, so we do have a draft concept. We're working on it internally with BTE and with JP2G. They're working on the O'Brien Road and the Whitten Road closure projects, and this ties in nicely. So we're working closely with them. We do have an initial concept. We think we probably need a second one that works a bit more with the topography in the existing treat areas, but we're moving forward on that. Opiongo, kind of the same thing. We have the due diligence, the natural heritage on that. Parks and Rec Master Plan, maybe I'll just quickly mention. So we do have the public consultation period. Number 1 was completed with 468 online survey responses and 200 random telephone surveys completed and 16 user group surveys. So I think public consultation was a significant component of this project, and it was kind of a key consideration in selecting the consortium of organizations, of consultants, to do this project. They really have a strong background in consultation. I think we're seeing that already, and continuing external stakeholder consultation. Just moving forward to our infrastructure projects. So you'll see a number of projects here. I won't kind of go through them all in great detail. I think what you're going to see is projects coming in at or under budget, which I think is great news. That's what we're looking for, and they're all on schedule, which is also great. Stewart Street, deficiency work being corrected. Joffrey Hague Dufferin, it's looking like 200,000 under budget, substantially complete. Argyle Lochiel. So again, you're kind of going through. There's a number of photos of the work product, courtesy of our manager of environmental services, and on a bit of a tour there. I think it's a very nice, I think you're seeing a very nice work product there. McNabb Crescent, that was kind of later in the year. Again, we were able to mobilize quickly. Kavanaugh did that project, and again, it's complete and on budget, so that's great. Maloney Road, 100,000 under budget, which is nice. Gillen Road, 50,000 under budget, substantially complete. That's not to say there'll be a deficiency review, likely in the spring, and we'll get a sense of kind of anything that needs to be cleaned up, but I think we're pretty happy with the results at this point. Some of our design projects, again, Monroe Harry's kind of moving along, still at 80%. Dominion Lynn, 8th Street, again, still at 80%. We're hoping the public information centers for those will be held in winter 2024. Mattaway water main design, we're on the preliminary design phase. That's been completed. Background investigation, so we'll be moving forward with detailed design on that in 2024. O'Brien Mass to Wrangler, this is at about 50%. Nice rendering there by BTE, and just an example of what the traffic circle is likely to look like. Again, we're on target to tender this one in late January, early February 24. So that's we're on track there. And just maybe in closing, just maybe go back to that slide. Madam Clerk, that'd be great. I just want to, again, I think it's the end of the year. I think it's appropriate just to acknowledge that there's a a large group of people. These projects just don't just happen, right? I think there's a large number of people on staff that work through the projects, from project planning, budgeting, funding applications, preliminary design, detailed design, tendering, construction, reporting to various funding agencies, and project closeout. We have, we have consultants that, they represent centuries of combined experience, dozens of staff in a number of different disciplines and functions: civil engineering, transportation engineering, geotechnical engineering, designing and drafting, landscape architecture, contract admin, inspection, survey crews, geotechnical, I mentioned that, environmental specialists. Kind of the list goes on. It really does take an army to deliver these projects, and I think for our municipality, I think we perform very well and we deliver some quality projects. And of course, the folks that are actually building these, all the contractors and subcontractors. There's a number of qualified contractors that we've worked with over the years. There's kind of newer contractors that are kind of coming onto the scene, and I think we're seeing some good work product. And hopefully, as kind of we come out of COVID, the pricing comes a little bit more competitive. I think it's been kind of difficult to pin down over the last 2-3 years, but hopefully it becomes a bit more predictable. And I just, again, want to thank everyone for that's listening. Again, everyone on staff, all the consultants, contractors, thank you for your work this year, and looking forward to continuing that tradition in 2024. And those will be my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any questions from the floor? No, none noted. If we can go to slide number 6, and just for your reference point there, Director, with regard to the 2023 permits, last line, 2023 year-to-date lot development, basically 69,000. Could you just expand on that? I know it went down, but what does that refer to, I guess is what I'm looking for. Is that post-construction or?
Yeah, thank you. So lot development are development charges. So what that's telling you is that there weren't as many new residential units this year. A lot of this stuff was rework, additions, commercial construction. Commercial does have a development charge component. There are credits for non-residential development if you're not expanding over 50%, so we don't take in as much on that. But I think what you're seeing is there's not as many new residential builds. There's also exemptions for additional residential units. The province did amend the Development Charges Act to exempt a number of classes of development that we would have traditionally collected on. So apartments that are added to single detached dwellings or semi-detached dwellings, we cannot charge development charges on that anymore, and that's new. So we might see a bit of a hit to our development charges as a result of that.
Okay, thank you, Director. And we'll move on to C2, and I think it's with you, Manager Springer. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes. So as a result of last month's committee report on the landfill, some members of the committee have asked for a presentation on a bit of the history of the landfill. So I'm just going to quickly go through that. So the town of Renfrew operates its own landfill located at 376 Bruce Street, and we have had this landfill operating since 1955. The landfill employs 2 full-time staff, 1 full-time summer student, and 1 to 2 casual scale attendants. And we also get some assistance from our Public Works and Parks and Rec divisions. Only residents and businesses of the town of Renfrew are able to use the site, with the exception of the Household Hazardous Waste Depot. Our landfill is an unlined, naturally attenuating landfill. It has no leachate collection system or gas collection system. And the landfill has approximately 20 years of capacity remaining in Phase 4 and 25 to 30 years of capacity in Phase 5, which is not yet fully approved. And this is based on current usage, which is subject to change. Next slide. So just a reminder of the landfill setup, if you haven't been there in a while, that we have a garage, a hazardous waste depot, a scale and a scale house that is reaching the end of its life and will need to be replaced soon. In 2012, we installed a sawtooth diversion area where people are able to sort their waste into bins. And we also have some secondary sorting areas for larger items like brush and wood and mattresses. And we also have a cat loader and cat compactor that we purchased in 2019. So some historical information about the management of the site. The landfill was operated by a contractor, Bowman, from 2013 to 2018. Historical reports indicate that the town had issues with this contractor, including poor management, poor condition of their equipment, lack of staff training, and inappropriate operations that were a result of conflict of interest issues. So they were reported bypassing the scales and driving up costs. Next slide. In 2018, the town tendered landfill operations for the period of 2019 to 2024. Bowman's bid represented over an 80% increase, and Tomlinson also bid, and there were a 220% increase on what we were currently paying. Given these increased costs and the issues with using waste operators to run a landfill and the conflict of interest issues that result from that, and then also given the benefits of internal operations, the town made the decision to operate the landfill internally as of January 1st, 2019. To prepare for this, the town hired a non-unionized environmental engineering officer to act as a landfill manager, as well as 2 unionized staff, a summer student, and also purchased the loader and compactor using a 15-year debenture. And then we also purchased the accounting software for the scale. Next slide. A bit about our future. As you all know, we're looking at doing slope rehabilitation next year and into 2025. As I previously mentioned, the scales are reaching their end of life. They're about 20 years old, so looking at 2025, 2026 to replace those. It has previously been mentioned that the Household Hazardous Waste Depot might need a bit of an upgrade in order to reflect the increased capacity that we're seeing. We have requested some equipment upgrades, either a purchase or a frequent rental of a tracked machine, either a bulldozer or a excavator. We are focusing a lot more on training through the Solid Waste Association of North America. So we were able to do that this spring with current staff and doing other sort of outreach and professional development through Shawna. We have also asked our consultants to help support us more on operations, and they do have someone in Eastern Ontario that is a landfill operations specialist, so we're hoping to get them to the site more frequently to help us sort of with future planning and operations. We are giving consideration to increasing the operating hours as the town is expected to grow, so that is something that we are considering for the next year or two. We are working on our Phase 5 expansion approvals, and part of the report that came to council last month about the slope rehabilitation, some of that work will help with the Phase 5 approval. We are still continuing to work on groundwater easements in the contamination attenuation zone, which is closer to the Bonnechere River, and those need to be completed by July 2025. And we're also looking always at potential to add more diversion programs. And that's all I have today. I'll take any questions if you have them.
Thank you, Manager Springer. Any questions from the floor? None, no? Yes, go ahead, Reeve.
Thank you. And in the future, is it possible to give an estimate as to how much material has been diverted by the use of the countertop digesters?
Yes, through you, Chair. Yeah, we absolutely can provide that. And we did get a report from Food Cycler back after the first pilot program, I believe it was beginning of the year, that estimated it was approximately 17 tons that was diverted with the 100 units. Of course, now that we have 50 more units out there and some of them are larger, we could probably estimate that that's gone up. But 17 tons is about a triaxle dump truck load of material a year.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead, Councillor McWhirter.
To you, Chair. Based on the fact that the slope rehabilitation is going to be so cost-effective, the scale and the scale house replacement, is that something that needs to be done in 2 years, or is that something we could put off? And if, or what is the rough estimate of what you think it might cost us?
Sure thing, through you, Chair. So this scale is, like I said, getting towards the end of its life cycle. 20 years is sort of the average, and it'll be 20 years old. The scale house is quite tight for space, not a lot of privacy, no space for people to have lunch in there. It's like a 2-person max space. Additionally, it would be nice to have some more safety stuff, like a chemical shower in there, for example, because of the household hazardous waste depot. I personally have been covered in oil down there and would have liked to shower, but was able to manage. Anyways, so it is a high priority for that. Depending on the scale and depending on if we can keep doing Band-Aid fixes, it depends. We spent about $6,000 this year replacing the load cells in order to get it another 2 years of life. So it really depends on how much the repairs are going to cost versus replacement. I did get a quick quote on replacement of the scale. If we're able to use the same foundation that it's currently on and not move anything, I believe it's around $50,000 to $70,000 to replace it. And then we would be looking to replace the scale house at the same time, and I don't have a quote on that. We'd probably be able to get like a construction trailer sort of thing in there, and that would be adequate.
Go ahead.
Through you, Chair, sorry. Is that something that, you mentioned trailer, is that something down the road you want to move, the scale of that? And can you see doing that to make, utilize more space there?
Through you, Chair. So given the amount of life left in the landfill and the fact that scales normally last about 20 years, we probably could get away with keeping it in the same location right now. It's very tight down there as well, because to the one side there's a big hill and to the other side we have infrastructure like our garage, so there's not a lot of space where we could move it. So for the next 20-year cycle, I wouldn't recommend moving it.
Thank you, and thank you, Manager Springer, especially with the decisions that have to be made over the next couple of years. It's good to have the background on that. Okay, we'll move on to D11 for the Committee of Adjustment. With regard to motion DEE-2312-01, that the Development, Environment and Engineering Committee resolve into Committee of Adjustment for the purpose of a public meeting for a minor variance application, and the time is now 10:31. Director Withers, go ahead, please. Oh, thank you, mover. Thank you, Reeve. Go ahead, Director Withers.
Yes, thank you, and through you, Chair. So this is a hearing of the Committee of Adjustment for the Town of Renfrew. The committee members have been appointed by Council in order to make decisions with respect to applications for minor variance and consent in accordance with Planning Act provisions. The process for today's hearing is summarized generally as follows. For each application on the agenda, the owner and/or agent will be given the opportunity, if desired, to briefly explain to the committee the nature of their application, to answer any questions that may arise during the hearing. I'll just note that the applicant is not in attendance today. It's a relatively minor variance, so I suspect that's the reason for that. All members of the public in attendance who wish to provide oral comments with respect to the application will have the opportunity to address the committee following the presentation by the owner and/or agent. Anyone speaking at the hearing must state their full name and address for the record. Any materials submitted to the committee for viewing will be retained by the committee and form part of the public record. The committee may choose to approve with or without conditions, refuse, or may hold an application in abeyance for consideration at a future meeting. Any person attending the hearing may request a copy of the committee's decision, and such requests must be in writing and addressed to the Secretary-Treasurer of the committee. Written notice of the decision will be mailed no later than 10 days following the committee's decision for minor variances, 15 days for consents to the applicant, their agents, and any person attending the hearing who filed a written request for such notice. There are no third-party appeals to the decision of the committee on the application. And Chair, I can confirm that proper notice for all matters to be considered at this hearing was given in accordance with the Planning Act. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll go into the motion now. It's COA-23-12-01, that in the manner of an application for minor variance file D-13-58 submitted by Leonard and Janice Armstrong with respect to lands known municipally as 830 8th Street, roll number 47-48-000-020-00114, to facilitate the construction of a deck extension. A variance from zoning bylaw 46-2010, as amended, be granted in accordance with the submitted application by granting the following relief. Section 3.7, subsection C, increase the maximum permitted encroachment of a deck into the required rear yard from 2 meters to 5.5 meters. Can I have a mover, please? Reeve Emo, thank you very much. And, yep, thank you, Director.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So I'll just provide staff report on the application. So the application is in respect to 838th Street. It is a minor variance that proposes to increase the maximum permitted encroachment of a deck into the required rear yard from 2 meters to 5.5 meters, so it's going further into the required rear yard. Given that it is a fairly minor variance, as noted, I won't go into too much detail. Staff are satisfied that the four tests of the minor variance in Section 45 of the Planning Act are met, and we are recommending approval subject to the conditions noted in the resolution. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Any questions from the floor? Extremely minor variation. None noted. We'll go to a vote. All in favor? Thank you. Carried. Unanimous. And we'll move on to D11-2, which is, I'll read the following motion. Motion number COA-23-12-02, that the Committee of Adjustment adjourn, and the time is now 10:34. Just looking for a mover, please. Councillor McWhirter, thank you very much. D12, please, we'll move to, and it's regard to supporting resolution. And who's taking that, Director? Okay, thank you, Rudy. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair, and through you. I would just like to pull up the report here, and I guess this kind of started from when the newspapers, Metroland Media, members of the committee might recall the media newspaper stopped printing back in September of this year, and this has presented a challenge for municipal staff, not just in the town of Renfrew, but across the province of Ontario, to be able to provide adequate public notice in a newspaper of general circulation. So we have received several municipalities supporting the resolution from the Township of McKellar to request that the province amend the Legislation Act to include digital publications as an acceptable means for public notice and for requirements. Again, staff are bound by the Municipal Act and Planning Act and required to place public notice for certain things, and that will require in the newspaper as well. Director Withers, I'm sure, can speak more to Planning Act requirements. And again, the use of the newspaper doesn't afford the ability to provide more detailed information. I know the town of Renfrew is currently using online platforms such as Zen City, where project updates can be posted and shared. People can stay up to date with the planning process from start to finish and get active updates. In the newspaper, you're going to get one notice that's sent out. This is happening, and not everybody's going to be reading the newspaper anyways. So staff are in support of the Township of McKellar's resolution, seeking the changes to allow for public notice through digital means, which would include media, websites, communication platforms that are available to the general public. And staff, also worth noting, do post public notices on our website, circulate to local media, and share information on our social media pages, in addition to Zen City as well.
Thank you, Rudy, and for the narrative, and we'll go into the motion for this. It's motion number DEE 23-12-02, that the Development, Environment and Engineering Committee recommend Renfrew Town Council support the Township of McKellar Resolution number 23-671, requesting that the provincial government make an amendment to the Legislation Act 2006 to include digital publications as an acceptable means of publication and notice requirements for the provincial acts and regulations. Can I have a mover for that before we vote? Reeve, thank you very much. And any questions from the floor? No, and we'll go ahead with the vote. All in favor? Unanimous and carried. Thank you very much. And we're going to head down to D41. D41. And the motion is that under DEE-23-12-03, that Development, Environment and Engineering Committee recommend Renfrew Town Council accept the report as information DWQMS External Audit Report. And over to you, Director and Manager Springer. Thank you. And do we have a mover, please? Thank you, Councillor McWhirter. And over to you now.
Thank you, Chair. So the town of Renfrew is required to maintain an operational plan for its drinking water distribution system, which meets the Drinking Water Quality Management Standard, and an external audit is required to audit the town's conformance with the operational plan annually. This occurred in November, and the report is attached. We had a positive review from the external auditor with no nonconformance issues identified and 2 opportunities for improvement. The opportunities for improvement will be considered for implementation in the revised operational plan, which will be managed by Aqua going forward.
Thank you, Manager Springer. Any questions from the floor? Go ahead, Reeve.
Just page 3, there's a red line about a 60-day response, and I didn't quite understand that.
Through you, Chair, I'm just bringing up the report here on page 3. I believe it's for a non-conformance, but I'm just going to take a look here. Yeah, so that's for a major non-conformance, which we didn't have any, that we require a response within 60 days.
Perfect, thank you.
No other questions? And we'll go to a vote, please. All in favor? Unanimous and carried. We'll head over to D42. D42. The motion is DEE-23-12-04, that the Development, Environment and Engineering Committee recommend that the Renfrew Town Council authorize the entering into an agreement with Product Care Association for the collection of lights at the Household Hazardous Waste Depot. Mover, please. Thank you, Councillor McWhirter, and go ahead, Manager Springer.
Through you, Chair. So the depot at the landfill does collect lights, and in 2015 we had a agreement with Product Care Association through the LAMP program for the collection of lights, but that program was short-lived, and because of new legislation, there's a new program in place effective January 1st, 2023. So we've been working with Product Care Association since the beginning of the year and putting our input on this agreement, and this agreement would provide compensation for us for the collection of most types of lamp bulbs and tubes, not just fluorescents, but incandescents and HIDs and various, almost all the types. And we're already currently collecting light bulbs and tubes at the hazardous waste depots, so this agreement just allows us to get actually compensated for that, and we estimate it's approximately $300 to $350 a year that we would be getting compensation for, which would help to offset our operating costs.
Go ahead, Councilor McWhorter.
Through you, Chair. So if somebody wanted to get rid of the bulbs, just hang on to them, don't put them out at the curb, but bring them down to the disposal site going forward?
Through you, Chair. Light bulbs are actually not recyclable because they are considered hazardous. Most of them, like especially the HID ones and the not the incandescent, the fluorescents, because they have like mercury in them. So yes, they should be brought to the Household Hazardous Waste Depot. There are also return to retail locations. There's none in Renfrew, but there is Rona in Arnprior, and there's one in Pembroke, but I can't recall where that is.
Good. And if there's no further, go ahead, Reeve, for the question.
Thank you. We might want to, I wasn't aware of that, to be quite honest with you, up until about 2 years ago. Just by accident, I found out. So we may want to do a little more publicity about bringing the bulbs separately from their household garbage. Thanks.
Thank you. Go ahead, Amanda.
Through you, Chair. Yes, because of the transition for the recycling program, there's going to be a lot more public education, specifically come 2026 when it's officially the transition period is over. But we are working on updating our website and just even currently looking at getting some magnets that say what can and can't go in certain bins for our landfill, for the bins that we have there at the recycling depot. So we are certainly working on it and looking even possibly this year at including a waste pamphlet in our calendar with our calendar submission that we send door to door at the beginning of the year.
Okay, thank you. Amanda, any more questions? If not, we'll go to a vote. All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. It's carried. And we'll move on to D43. Motion number DEE 231205, that the Development Environment Engineering Committee recommend that the Renfrew Town Council include a tree planting program in partnerships with Forests Ontario in the 2024 budget at a value of $17,460. Do I have a mover, please? Reeve, thank you very much. And over to you, Amanda.
Thank you, and through you, Chair. So earlier this year, Renfrew Town Council adopted a tree canopy and natural vegetation policy in which the town committed to preserve and enhance the level and quality of tree and vegetation cover within the town. Although this policy only applies to public trees, it is recommended that private property owners adopt the elements of the policy as best practices. Many Ontario communities have tree planting programs that increase the urban forest both on public and private land, and I've provided as an attachment an example of a few of those. In order to help assist communities with tree planting initiatives, Forests Ontario developed the Take Root program and piloted the program in 2023 in the city of Guelph with great success. Forests Ontario is a not-for-profit registered charity organization that focuses on education and outreach around tree planting initiatives and sustainable forest management. The town of Renfrew reached out to Forests Ontario for more information about their Take Root program and how a partnership between the town of Renfrew and Forests Ontario could be beneficial to establish a program in 2024. Forests Ontario has prepared a proposal with various options for tree planting program in the town of Renfrew, which would occur in fall of 2024. Staff are recommending the 100 tree option with in-person support from Forests Ontario's with a zero resident cost, which is a value of $17,460. This program would be a private tree planting program with residents receiving a free tree, which would be a 1 to 2 gallon stock, which is about 2 to 4 feet in height, for their yards, and they would be planting and maintaining those trees themselves. Director Withers and I do have a meeting with Forests Ontario tomorrow to see how we could possibly work like a street tree, like front yard, like how we can see if we can prioritize that over sort of a backyard, because public, like street-facing trees have a bit more public benefit. So the proposal does include the supply of tree stock, program management, including registration and reporting. They provide residents the information that they need to select their species. They do a survey for that. They have planting instructions. They have fact sheets for the different trees. And then they also are able to provide in-person tree distribution assistance, which is optional but is recommended, as if we were not to have them, we would need to do some training on how to plant trees and to be able to communicate that to the residents. They also do follow-up assessments on the tree's survival. Our staff estimate that to do a similar program without Forest Ontario's assistance would cost approximately $4,000 for the stock and approximately 10% of a full-time equivalent, which is valued about $10,000, not including the benefits and overhead. And we'd also require assistance from the county forester, which is not captured in our cost estimate of about $14,000 to do this without Forest Ontario. This option would also divert staff resources from other functions and may not be feasible if we were to do it on our own. So we feel that including the Forest Ontario staff completely in the program will result in a better managed program with greater long-term success as a result of their professional experience, resources, and relationships with suppliers and their past experience with tree planting programs. Staff would be open to a low-cost resident program where residents would pay $5 to $10 for their tree. Forest Ontario has indicated that a small fee does result in a bit more success of the program because residents have a bit invested into the tree, so they're more likely to care for it, but that is up to council's discretion. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Manager Springer. Any questions from the floor? Go ahead, Councillor McWhorter.
Through you, Chair. I just want to be clear. So the town would provide the tree at no cost, and two of the Ontario staff would install the tree, or that would be up to the resident?
Go ahead.
You Chair. So we would have a distribution night where we would have the trees, people would come pick them up. Forest Ontario staff would be there to help guide them and give them information about how to plant the tree, but the residents would actually be doing the planting themselves.
And just a quick question, because I thought about putting one on my lawn. Do you have any that the leaves don't fall off?
Yes, an evergreen tree would probably be your best bet.
Go ahead, Reeve.
I'm very familiar with Forest Ontario and some of their programs. They've been here to talk to the woodlot owners 2 or 3 times. They've been up, you remember the signs that talked about the benefits of the forest sector and in terms of climate, assisting climate. And I had a chance to talk to Mayor Guthrie in Guelph at an AMO board meeting about a year ago when they announced their program as well, and he was very enthusiastic about it. I talked to Mayor Leal in Peterborough, again very enthusiastic about it. Forest Ontario is a really good partner. They know what they're doing. So if we're going to partner with anybody, they're the best ones to join up with.
Okay, Reeve, thank you very much. Go ahead, Councillor.
Just another quick question. So you're going to set up a website that residents will be able to go online and put their name in for a tree, and you would have a list of different trees that would be available that would be suitable for the town. I think there's a height restriction or something in town for some of the trees.
Through you, Chair. So yes, Forest Ontario would be setting that up, and if you take a look at City of Guelph Take Root, they actually have this great survey that you do where you can put in your information like how much space do you have overhead power lines, do you have any other like considerations, and then they will recommend a tree species for you. And yes, Renfrew Hydro does have height restrictions for areas that are near power lines.
Go ahead, Councillor.
Chair, just to follow up. So if they sign up and they get a tree, will town still be coordinating doing locates? Because I know on our street, you would need to do a locate on the front lawn because my lawn in particular has everything going underneath the ground there, so.
Chair, yes. We would be recommending that the residents that get their tree submit a locate request, which is very easy to do through Ontario One Call, but the town would still be required to do that, Renfrew Hydro for the hydro and Bridge for gas, with Aqua taking over water and wastewater. Aqua would be doing the locates for that, but the town may still have to look at storm locates.
Thank you. Amanda, I have a couple quick questions. So, and I understand the concept, trust me, but are we having government come in and sort of interfering with the local nurseries and all that sort of stuff? So I went with the budget one at 50 trees. It comes to about $11,500. That's about $230 a tree. So how do we balance that with the local nurseries that are in the same field as trying to get? Can you explain that a bit further? Is there a difference we're going to have, or are we interfering with the local nurseries with them trying to sell trees and all that?
Yes, certainly, there's probably people that are like, oh, I can get a free tree from the town, or I could go to a nursery. At a nursery, these types of trees usually run about $30 to $40, depending on, for the species. We would be looking at probably sourcing these from Kemptville. There's a nursery there that I know that Forest Ontario works with, so it's semi-local still. But certainly, yes, it's possible that, that they wouldn't be getting their tree from Haltings instead of getting it from the town. But we are looking at, 100 trees, so it's not a lot.
Okay, thank you. If no other questions, we'll go to a vote. So all in favor? Thank you, carried. And we'll head over to Section F, the committee meetings. Sorry, the committee minutes. DEE-23-12-06, the Development, Environment, and Engineering Committee confirmed the minutes of Committee 1-2023 dated November 7th, 2023. A mover, please. And if we can, thank you, Councillor McWhirter. And if we can have a vote, please, all in favor. Thank you. Upcoming meetings of the committee. The next regular scheduled meeting for the Development, Environment, and Engineering Committee is scheduled for January 2nd, 2024 at 10 a.m. and we are adjourned at 10:53. Thank you, everyone.